baby. Episode 121.
121.
There are no famous 121s out there, but wasn't Dominique Wilkins' number?
He was 21.
Yeah, there you go, 21. Atlanta. Famous Atlanta Hawk.
Famous Atlanta Hawk.
Yeah.
Dominique Wilkins. And just he was not only a phenomenal player, but just a good guy.
Good dude.
Yeah, he just does a lot of good things for
Does
the
he
community.
still do does he still broadcast Hawks games? I think he does. I don't know.
He
I don't know
probably
where,
does, but I don't listen to or watch
Yeah.
enough basketball to know the answer to
I
that.
think if we go long enough, I think that he will end up being Atlanta's Babe Ruth. And here's what I mean by that.
Is there a statue of him already?
Well, no. Well, here's what I mean. Is there a statue? I think there is.
I feel like there is.
I feel like there's a
There's a
statue of
bronze.
Babe. Yeah,
There's a bronze.
But Boston was famous for trading Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
Right? And then they had the curse of the Bambino.
Right.
And never won the World Series for almost 100 years or whatever, right? The Hawks, the poor Hawks, I mean, they've never, the farthest they've gotten is the Eastern Conference Finals. And that was a few years ago. But they've never won the finals.
Right.
And I think it's going to end up being the curse of Dominique Wilkins. You traded him away. You traded him, I don't know. Was he in his prime? I mean, he was at the back half of his prime.
I feel like he was over the, he may have been on the downslope.
But still, didn't get much in return. It's just bad, bad look.
I don't know how many seasons he played for the Hawks. I mean, he was here for a while.
Yeah. He was awesome. So the curse of, there's no good rhyme time there.
Yeah.
But anyway, 121. Here's what I think we should talk about today, Rob. This is a weird one. It's kind of fun. What are things that we wouldn't work on, right? Not necessarily like an ethics thing, you know what I mean? But
could be.
Hey, are there brands or are there categories or are there things that we actually wouldn't work on, And yeah, agencies pass on things for a variety of reasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
But is there any type of client out there or any type of category that we'd be like, hard pass, immediate.
I would say yes.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked a lot about things we enjoy working on, so it is interesting to flip the script a little bit and talk about things that we wouldn't work on. And I'll start with an anecdote. So oftentimes we obviously work most often direct to client, but a lot of times agencies will hire us as just sort of creative guns on projects. And this was one of those particular instances where I got a call, and the call started with, hey, we want to involve you guys in some work, but I need to know if you would be opposed to this category or not.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And my very first response was, and I know this person pretty well, have for a long time, so I could be kind of silly. And I said, well, it's either cigarettes or something to do with sex. Yeah. And there's only one of those that I won't work on. And so that was my response.
Yeah.
So after the chuckles came up, it was, no, it's actually neither.
Yeah.
And the category was, drum roll, cultivated meat.
Yes.
Cultivated meat. And so for those not in the know, what is cultivated meat? Cultivated meat is effectively meat that they can call meat or chicken because it's made from stem cells.
Yes,
right?
it's lab-grown meat.
It's lab-grown meat that's made from actual stem cells from actual animals.
Yeah, so cultivated cells from the animal themselves. Yeah. And then they replicate them.
It's cloning.
Into here's a slab of meat.
Yeah.
That I guess is formed like
it's grown just like meat grows, only it's not grown on an animal.
Yeah, exactly. So there's no animal cruelty.
And, a big part of the industry is, and we learned this going through the process, which kind of tells you our thoughts on it. We did end up working on it, but the idea is that from a macro perspective, we are going to run out of food.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the planet is growing and, at such a rate that there will come a time where we run out of food.
And we keep multiplying and keep taking all the resources. Yeah. And pretty soon, I mean, we already joke like how many farm animals outnumber, humans on the planet. Things like that, right? So,
So that's at the sort of the macro level. And then, you drill down into just the ethical nature of animal cruelty and all those kind of things like that. And so it was an interesting question because, I don't know anything about that industry. Yeah. I mean, I guess I knew it existed, but I've never spent an ounce of thought on it until I was posed that question. And
it's kind of sci-fi,
It's very sci-fi.
It's like in the future,
it's
we
very
just
sci-fi.
Eat a pill.
And it's kind of odd. And I remember I got the call and I kind of thought about it, and then I actually called you.
Yes, you did.
And was like, hey, I got a weird one for you. How do you feel about this? And I think just, to keep it short and simple, we kind of agreed that we didn't really have an ethical opposition to this.
No, I'd try a lab-grown meat.
I would absolutely try a piece of lab-grown chicken.
Yeah.
Or a lab-grown filet.
Yeah.
Without any prejudice, really.
Yeah.
And so we decided to go ahead and move forward on the business. But it is interesting because a lot of people disagree with it.
Yeah.
Florida has already banned it.
Preemptively banned.
And there are several states, primarily in the southeastern region of the United States, and a surprise to no one, where they are following suit. I think West Virginia and a few other states are following suit to try and ban it. Now, a lot of that obviously has to do with lobbying.
Yes. You stole my thunder. That's what I was going to jump in.
Yeah, there's obviously a big lobby against that from cattle ranchers and everything else, all the meat manufacturers.
Yeah.
However, all of the big meat and chicken manufacturers are all invested in this because they have to be. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Just like anything else,
they have to
diversify. And there are a few different companies. I'm going down the weeds, but there are 3 or 4 large. There are a lot of companies trying to do this. There are 3 or 4 big players that have kind of emerged and are leading the charge on this.
Yeah, and this isn't going away, I don't think, because there have...
No. It will happen.
Yeah, there have already been levels of FDA approvals and clearance. I mean, things have already gone through. Like, it's happening. I mean, this train is rolling.
Yeah.
It's a matter of how fast people are going to jump on this train and then how readily available they'll be.
Marijuana will be federally legal pretty soon.
Yeah.
But it's taken a while. So this is not dissimilar to that, I would say.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
In terms of adoption. But there's, it's an interesting thing. Somebody's going to be first to market to do it. And, it'll change the face of.
Yeah. Here's what's interesting to me is that even though it's not, plucked off of a living animal, right? One of the things we learned is that you are allowed to call it meat because it is from cultivated cells.
Correct.
Right. Unlike, because you had mentioned the lobbying, unlike milk, right? Milk kind of gave away the farm, pun intended, right? They didn't challenge when everybody else started calling their products milk, almond milk, soy milk, oat
coconut milk,
yeah, all that stuff. Like none of that is milk,
right?
But the train left the station on that one, and you can't stuff that back in, right? There is a lot of artificial, like the Impossible Burger and sort of those cauliflower-based meats and chicken nuggets and whatever that. And the poultry industry, they're trying their best to be like, hey, you can't call it chicken if there's no chicken.
There's no chicken in
it. Right. Which actually makes sense when you think about it, right?
Of course.
However, it is meat. That's what's so weird about this whole thing to me.
It is an odd one.
It is meat. You can call it meat. It is meat. It is cultured animal cells that are grown into meat. It's just without the cruelty and all the byproduct and potentially even harmful aspect of the environment, right? If the labs,
right.
Can manage it without, extraneous energy outputs, things like that, right? So that's an odd one, and we both said, let's give it a shot.
We both said, sure, we'll give it a shot.
Have we ever disagreed on pitching something or going after something or anything?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. I mean, we've had some strange ones along the way where we're both like, this
facial fitness. Do you remember that one?
Oh yeah, no, I absolutely remember facial fitness.
Who's that guy? There's a lot of over there.
Bad Shark Tank ideas in need of marketing.
Yeah,
that are bad ideas and are never they're gonna be lemons.
Yes.
But I think there are. So I would, to answer that, I would say no. I don't think there's anything that you and I haven't seen eye to eye on as to whether or not we would take it on or not take it on.
Sure.
But I think about, it's interesting to think about because cigarettes, right? Tobacco.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say no.
You would?
I would say no.
Okay, interesting.
I don't think.
I'd say yes.
I'd be okay. There we go. Our first disagreement there on a.
It's hard to make a blanket statement without knowing everything, but I think that unlike the 90s, for example, right, where we clearly have Joe Camel, we clearly have Marlboro Points. I mean, we clearly have this
we're marketing to kids.
A lot of people are still smoking in all these places, and we are marketing to kids, and we are trying to get people hooked on the cancer train. You know what I mean? There's a big, I think my answer then would be a resounding no. We're absolutely not doing that, right? But now I think because the Surgeon General's warnings, because everything's so locked down, because there is such a, at least here in the States, there's such a divide of young people versus, to me it doesn't feel, it feels like it's very boxed in. Like tobacco products, everyone knows they're bad for you. It's not like 5 out of 5 doctors recommend Camel cigarettes, So it feels like this very kind of closed off adult corner of the world that I don't have. But again, that's just me kind of.
Let me ask you a question. Why do you think all the vape come in all these great fun flavors?
Blueberry, raspberry.
Yeah, why do you think that is?
Well, because the same reason that Juul, lost every single lawsuit and went belly up, right?
Because they're targeting kids.
So they're targeting kids. Right. Absolutely.
So I don't know. For me, and maybe it is just a hangover from. I mean, where does from cigarettes?
Where does Marlboro advertise?
In West Virginia.
Because they're not allowed to
in Kentucky.
Well, I mean, I guess, but
you can still do. Can they do billboards anymore?
Because remember, it used to be the Winston Cup. I mean, they used to be the title sponsor of multiple sporting events and the Virginia Slims tennis tournament.
I don't know what they can do or can't do anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't see the Marlboro Man anymore.
No. He died.
Yeah, he died of lung cancer.
It's horrible.
So I don't know. I mean, for me, I think my gut reaction would be I don't know that I can do that. And part of that also is to just me having kids and the age that they are. Now, here's where I'm a total hypocrite.
We work on booze.
We work on a lot of booze.
Yeah. That's not good for you.
Which is worse? I don't know, man. It's a toss up.
Yeah.
And so that's I'm not afraid to sound like a little bit.
Well, and we've worked on marijuana products. Or CBD.
I find CBD and marijuana probably less harmful than either tobacco or alcohol. In my personal, that's just my personal.
I don't disagree with that at all. I don't. Yeah, I'm with you on that. The one thing we have passed on is political stuff. I mean, we have been approached by politics, and I've always said no, regardless of party. Just no. Don't want to. It doesn't. Most of the initial response to no is because it's always crash and burn timing. And they're never, I shouldn't say never, but no one's set up for success in a situation with what we've been approached with in the past. So it has nothing to do with left or right or whatever.
Correct.
It's like, hey, we've got this, it's always, a last minute emergency, this is not going to be fun to work on.
All right. Well, let me ask you this question.
Or successful.
If we were approached to develop a campaign for, let's call it, it doesn't matter if it's a presidential candidate or what level it is, doesn't matter, a governor,
okay,
whatever, and it was something that we aligned on in our beliefs, right?
Okay.
And we had ample time to develop the identity, the campaign frame, the whole thing,
the whole shebango.
Yeah, would you turn it away?
I mean, I am 80% on the yes, turn it away. It would take a lot for me to
because you would feel like you were planting a flag in the ground.
I think so. Yeah, I think you just get lumped in with that. You get put in that wash, and you don't control that. Right. And there's so many other forces around, especially with how charged everything is from a political environment now. Right. It's just you're lumped in with that category whether you want to be or not.
Yeah.
So I mean, my gut would say, even if I was a believer, like, I met this person and they're awesome. And I believe that they're trying to do good in the world. And, from XYZ perspective, I'd probably still pass. Mm-hmm. I mean, there is a chance that I do it.
But, I mean, it's again, a blanket statement is tough to make, right?
Yeah.
I just hate politics.
Yeah.
With a passion.
Yeah.
So I don't know how good I would be at it. I just can't, I loathe it so much.
Yeah. It's not, I mean, that would probably be my least favorite category to consider working within. Right. I mean, because you have extreme timelines, you have extreme hours.
And that a big part of it's going to be smear stuff.
Yeah.
It just is. It's going to be negative. It's just.
I mean, years ago, I remember interviewing. We were hiring at this agency I was at, and we were interviewing, and a guy came in, and he, worked at a political shop, you know, and it was like, here's every mailer under the sun, about this, that, and whatever, and it was like, you're 2 years out of school, and literally your whole book is just negative political, like, I feel so bad for you.
It's just spammy and crappy and gross. You know, but I think it's different if you were to say like, like the team behind like Obama's Hope, you know, and the image and that whole thing, right? And the artist that did that and the whole, all that stuff. Like, to me, that's different. It's different if it's, hey, we need an identity for a candidate or something, and not the like tactical deployment of the actual campaign.
Yeah. Well, Pentagram did Hillary's brand.
Pentagram did.
Yeah, Michael Beirut did that. You know, and and it was. Yeah, it was for those that don't remember, it was the H with the crossbar was the arrow, but the arrow was red and he was pointing to the right, and everybody went cuckoo pants on that. You know, he had to defend that and stuff like that. But I think to your point, he didn't do like the ongoing political.
Right, that's just the identity.
It was just like we developed the basis of your look and feel for your campaign.
Yeah. So I think Mechanism did Biden's.
Really?
Okay. They did some aspect of that. Anyway, but I wouldn't be inclined to work on political stuff. Probably.
Yeah, that's probably. I mean. Honestly, that's probably the only category I wouldn't want. You know, I mean, I would work in the sins. You know what I mean? The cigarettes and the alcohol and, you know, the perceived sins.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we've never done anything adult entertainment scenario. I don't think.
I'd be all in on that.
I don't think that would.
Sex toys, you got it.
Well,
Bring it on.
I guess, you know, I mean, I wouldn't have a problem with it. You need packaging for XYZ product.
I don't have any kind of problem with that whatsoever.
Yeah.
That's,
if you're out there listening to this, bring it out.
By definition, that can't really hurt you or kill you.
Yeah. I mean, sure. You know,
I mean, right. It's not harm. I mean, it can be abused like anything else.
Sure.
But the product itself is not a harmful product. You know, generally speaking.
No, agreed. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot, you know, ethics in design and advertising is an interesting, you know, slop pot, right? I mean, how many, I mean, not to air, you know, but super old dirty laundry, but like, how many old Kellogg's briefs do we listen through, you know, and the end result is, well, 1/3 less sugar is still way too much sugar for anyone to be eating in one breakfast bowl. You know, it was like, you know, and that's not cereal to kids, don't get me, or cigarettes to kids, don't get me wrong.
Right.
You know, but it's like, okay, this really isn't healthy. Like,
no.
You're trying to
Captain Crunch is not good for you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just not.
I think that's Post or General
Well,
Mills or something.
you get the point.
So I mean, there, you know, those are kind of funny advertorial, you know, anecdotes. You know what I mean, along the line. But to some people, that is where they would draw the line.
Okay, well, let's. I'm going to shift gears for a second, and it's something topical. I watched the other day the South Park episode, the Ozempic episode, Ozempic/Lizzo episode.
Okay. Got it.
And that got me thinking about it's brilliant. Anybody who hasn't seen it, go watch it.
Yeah, those guys still got it.
Absolutely fantastic. But that got me thinking about drug companies and drug company advertising, right?
Yeah.
And that is an ethical play too, depending on the drug, right? And it's
ask your doctor for whatever.
Yeah, and it's okay. Are some of these drugs, are they good for you? Are they bad for you?
No,
I don't know. I mean, it depends. Some are, some aren't, right?
Sure.
But that's another ethical one, and we've never really worked on
pharma.
Yeah. We've done a lot of medical device stuff and things like that, but we've never really dove into pharma.
Yeah.
And what's so great about pharma is that I love that finally it's kind of like somebody turning upside down the ketchup bottle, because duh.
Yeah.
Somebody finally in the legal department just went, can we just make up a word for the name of the drug?
Yeah.
And so now it's all just this great Ozempic. It's all just this fantastic Mounjaro.
Yeah.
It's all these just fantastic made up words.
Well, there are firms out there. I mean, there are big high priced that are just sitting on, you know, they have all the names already done.
Oh yeah.
You know,
and the URLs bought and all of the things
trademarks,
bought.
all you know.
Absolutely.
And there's a method to the madness on, do you end in a consonant? Do you end in an uplifting vowel? Do you know, how many, you know, like how aggressive do you want this
Throw
word
a
to
Z
sound?
in there.
Yeah, exactly. So, and sometimes they're like derivatives of the actual active ingredient.
Oh, 100%.
You know, but a lot of times they're really not.
A lot of times they're
it's just whatever.
Made up.
Yeah.
But I love too that on a lot of those made up names. I mean, I can only imagine the pitch, right? And the story that they craft.
Oh boy.
around the made up word and why it is what it is.
They have such bad logos too. All of those drugs have like the world's like everything has a swoosh in it from the 90s.
Yeah.
They've got even Botox to this day. I mean, Botox, everyone knows Botox.
Yeah.
You know? Botox's logo is horrible.
I don't even know. I can't picture it in my head.
Nobody cares
it's
because
forgettable, right?
Nobody cares because you get your little prescription thing and there's no logos on that. It's got CVS's logo or Walgreens or whatever, you know. But the more that they leapfrog doctors and go to consumers, right?
Yeah.
And then say, hey, ask your doctor for, you know, Ozempic or whatever, right?
Yeah.
You know, they do develop consumer brands for all these things.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's its own weird ball of wax is pharma stuff. I mean, just the legal requirements, you know. I mean, I think they all looked at cigarettes and was like, okay, now that's why every ad has a whole nother ad with just the legal warnings.
I just love the every single one has to say, do not take this if you're allergic to it.
I know. Yeah.
No, and that's ignoring even the laundry list of side effects that they then go through for 30 seconds.
Everything will kill you.
Yeah. This will kill you.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's don't take Xarelto if allergic.
If
to
you're
Xarelto.
Allergic to Xarelto.
Yeah. We've leaped over gas with oily discharge and gone straight to every single thing will kill you.
Everything will kill you.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. I mean, there's that's a whole nother podcast about ethicalness of promising. Promising people end results without having to do the work, I guess. So. I mean, that being said, I would work on pharmaceutical stuff. That's just not we've never really,
we've not leaned into that.
We haven't leaned into that. Mm-hmm. We've got a tremendous amount of experience on repairing the body, with either the hardware shop or using your own body.
Well, I think with something like pharma, it's so detailed and so just riddled with compliance issues and everything else that you really have to know what you're doing, and that's why you have shops that just specialize in that. That's all they do. Because there is an incredible knowledge base that comes along with doing.
So it sounds like pretty much politics as of right now is the only thing that we both.
Politics. I think we'd both be like, we're a little divided on cigarettes, or vapes, or I guess tobacco products. Zyn. Are you going to dip? Okay, if somebody Copenhagen calls.
I'd be fine with it. But we potentially did have an opportunity in that path. Didn't manifest itself.
We did?
Yeah.
Which
you're forgetting. Zyn. There was a potential opportunity.
Was there a potential for Zyn?
Yeah. It didn't come to pass.
So
maybe I shouldn't be saying that out loud. I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. It's on the internet. It'll be there forever. So. Well, here's what we need. We need somebody to write in and with a crazy, wacky, project for us and see if we can do it.
Bring us your questionable, ethical, scandalous products.
Yeah, exactly.
And see what we say.
Yeah, and we will make a magical success from those things. So, all right, where can everybody find us, Mr. Rob?
You can find us on the internets, of course, at mocktheagency.com, and we're all over the socials. We're not hard to find.
Cool.
I'm going to let people guess where they can find us there. I'm not going to tell them.
Okay. Too many socials.
They're gonna have to use your brains.
All right, thanks everybody.